a common thing, as I was saying. You're only as good as the data you have, and also you're only as good as the data you train on. There's always a bias of any model you make based on how it was trained. So that's the only way it was defined. It has no prior experience or no prior knowledge. It's also, here in our case, it was done only by member of the lab, so it was user, but like very secluded user. But it depends which part. For instance, here, depending on the line, some will be more accessible than others. Here, for instance, you say the check is just for someone who's like, oh, I found this thing, the metadata was extracted that way, but I want to go back to the primary document, just like an accessible data that you bring to the user in like this whole process. But if you want to actually modify the structure, that's actually a valid question that you have. Historically speaking, and from a machine learning point of view, especially in deep learning, it's better to have a lot of noisy data than little clean data. All the experiments have shown that. It's better to have a lot, even if you have 20% of it is wrong, but to have a lot of it. And so that's how people usually go with. But then you always have to be aware that the errors out there and the limitations out there, of course.
Very good question. So the good thing is in this example you have lots of images, but from, let's say, the same art period, but even within the entire Renaissance, right, there's quite a variety of different sensibilities, styles. And my question is, so how big is the training data? How many pairs of images? How many pairs of images you have
the graph?
for this to kind of work, right?
So
because let's say you have this 200,000 artworks, right?
Yeah.
And you start, and then you create training data on that part of space. Maybe other parts was completely missed.
No, totally.
So I'm curious how it works.
So there are two things. There's like the amount of data you index, and that doesn't matter. It can be as big as you want.
Yeah.
And then there is like the size of the graph you use for training, and that's the part that matters. So I would not say it's not as much the size of the graph as how much work it represents to actually make it, and that's why interfaces are so important, because actually the original interface that's created was for me to create this training data for evaluation, and then it kind of like keep building itself, and then it becomes like a full-fledged storage system.
Tens of thousands.
I think it's 2,000 connections, maybe.
So and how many different artworks in this data set?
Maybe only 800, because like the graph is quite, like the groups are highly connected. When you have like 5 elements are all connected with each other, so it will create you 25 links already. I think it's like a couple. Okay. I should know that. I think it's like maybe 2,000 images which are part of a connection. But I mainly did it by myself on my free time because it's so much fun to explore these things, to be honest. Because you kind of go high. I mean, it's free time. It's like research free time.
I mean, the thing is, in this case, it's hard to measure, right? Because you're not creating particularly, you're not doing classification labels. You're actually creating graphs.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a bit hard to measure.
It's not standard.
Yeah, exactly. But 2,000 connections in the space of 2,000 images. That seems like a pretty good amount.
It's a very good amount, but you definitely don't need 2,000. I mean, there's like diminishing return as well, which is almost usually logarithmic.
Right.
So if you already like a couple hundred, then it will be enough to get something working, definitely. I mean, because here in this situation, when you annotate a connection, implicitly you annotate a lot of relationship, because that means these two should be closer than all the other ones.
Right.
So implicitly you create a lot of training levels. So that's how you get away with it.
That's amazing. That's very clever.
Yes.
Provided that you would have enough computational power, would this method work also to establish a kind of film iconography?
Totally. Yeah. Well, you supply different things, because for film, I never worked with film, to be honest, so I'm not exactly sure the kind of questions or things people will be looking for. But usually in that kind of thing, what you would do, my impression would be like you do shot separation, and for each shot you would maybe sample images and then aggregate some kind of a visual representation of it, or something like that. But the same techniques would be used. I know people who work in these kind of approaches. Maybe not for aesthetics, more for like length of shot and like the interaction with people and kind of more organization of the narrative in visual culture. I can give you information about the kind of thing that's interest for you.
question, tout dernière, on a pause. Very last question. No more question. So it's time for coffee break and we start again in 15 minutes.
It's all about execution. You're a great executor. I wonder why you still have time to play with it.
I think the time to play with it was part of the project.
You have 2 seconds? For showing you the hypothesis platform. So in the past, this is how appears the video, but I have to be entirely truthful with you. Before to upload this video to hypothesis platform, I have to
It's embedded, but it's actually in YouTube.
Okay, but if you don't want to be in YouTube, I can understand perfectly, and so I don't put the video. But I have
But you can show it to me at first, and
no problem. Okay, but it's very good. Like I say, it's not very.
because you know, if it's in YouTube, then it's always in the face of anybody who searches for me. You know, and if it's not perfect,
No, but I understand it completely. But I want to be truthful with you and show you that there is two steps and one before to be on the platform.
Is that another event? You have not uploaded anything yet.
Yes.
This is today?
No, this is one another international symposium, but there is 2 here. So this is one journey, and this is a total horror journey, but they are on the last call of the last year. So there is some
You can upload it and not make it public, only send me the link.
I think on YouTube I have the choice to make the video public or not. So maybe the best possibility is to not upload or not upload the no video online. Send you the link, you show and look at it. Take the break.